I feel like there should be a rule that if you're going to have a movie on a plane, give us the option that if it's a movie that has nudity or graphic sex scenes, can we hit a button that says edit those out or like blur or do something? Because you feel like such a freaking perv if you're just like watching a movie and then all of a sudden it's like graphic sex scene.
How to survive the classroom.
Hey, teacher besties. Welcome to How to Survive the Classroom. I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole this week. I got very, very curious because I remember sitting at school in high school and you would hear little tidbits of lore about the teachers, right? So like it could be something that's like very mundane, like, oh yeah, she went backpacking through Europe when she was in college. And you're like, what? And we would like find pictures, which now it's easy, right? We can just give it a little Google and find out a bunch of like background information on our teachers because of the internet. But at this time, it was actually super hard to find pictures. And I remember finding out that my high school English teacher was kind of a hippie, and her husband, who was the art teacher at the school, also a hippie, had like very long, long hair. And the school I went to was like a very conservative Christian school. And so the thought that they had like a hippie era kind of broke our brains a little bit. And I have a little bit of lore about myself that when people discovered it, especially early on in my teaching career, it kind of broke their brains. So when I was in college, and I've talked about this before, that I was really wanting early college days to be on the radio. I wanted to do a talk show in the mornings, and I worked at Channel 933 in San Diego with AJ's Playhouse. So for those of you guys who are familiar with that area, know that that was like the show in the early 2000s. Like everybody was listening to AJ's Playhouse, and I was an intern for Channel 933 with Gina the Latina and AJ, and gosh, there was another guy as well that I'm blanking on his name right now. But I actually was there and did like the morning intern stuff. And so that means that as part of that, we had to show up to all of the clubs all of the time. So if you're an intern for a radio station, basically what you do is like the street work of like putting up signs, you hand out swag at events, you like help set up like the table, and you hand out stickers, and you do all that kind of stuff. Like we're at the grunt work, right? And when I was interning for the morning show, I would also go get breakfast for them at like 5 a.m. because I had to like be there when they started at 5, right? So I did all of that. But some of the stuff I also did was if we had a celebrity that would show up at the radio station in the mornings, I would have to go and get the celebrity and bring them back to where we were, because it was like, again, 5 a.m, super dark outside still in San Diego. And it just looks like a normal office building. Like it doesn't look fun or fancy. Like the back area kind of looked a little cooler, but mostly it just looks like an office building, right? So a few people that I got to meet and have pictures with a few of these. Most of them I don't have pictures with. So the first one that I met, and at this point, this was like the height of Girls Next Door, like the Hugh Hefner reality show that was out with his girlfriends. I got to meet Kendra. So I went out, and it was so funny because, again, it was early in the morning. She had no makeup on. She was with like 2 huge yoked out security guards. And I'm just like walking around because I didn't watch the show. And I was expecting someone who was like really done up, and she had no makeup on. She was just like in sweats, which again, if you are familiar with Kendra, that actually kind of matches like her vibe. She's a San Diego girl. And I'm like, are you Kendra? And she's like, yep. I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I like brought her back and everything. She was really sweet. And then I also got to meet Neo, the singer. And I do have a picture with him. I need to dig it up because it was on my MySpace account, because that's how long ago this was. This was like 2006, right? 2005, 2006. And I have a picture of me, like little 19-year-old me standing next to Neo. And that picture was the lore that got discovered by my students, is like me standing next to like this hip hop artist, and my students lost their minds and they could not function because they really, really felt like I had some sort of like secret hip hop connection. I'm like, no, guys, I just like interned for a radio station for a semester. And they're like, no, like she's got secrets. And there's also actually there is a music video out there that I'm not in it. I just want to make that very, very clear. I'm not in it, but the very beginning of this music video, there's a girl who looks so much like me. And it's like it looks like it's in like a high school auditorium. I'm blanking on the name, but it was one of the songs, the Whip and Nene. Okay, you guys have to go watch the music video for Whip. Is that the name of the song? I literally don't even know. My students were trying to teach it to me when I started teaching, and then we all lost our minds because at the very beginning, it's in like a high school gym, and you see a girl who looks so much like me. It's really actually disorienting. So just something for all. Okay, it's called "Watch Me" by Salento. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. It's called "Watch Me." It's the Whip and Nene song, though, right? Go watch that music video, guys, because it looks like I'm in the beginning of it, and I feel like that is a great like story, a good lore to start about myself is that like, oh, I'm in that music video because I could pass for sure for that girl, and not in like a flattering way. It's not like it's like this like super like hot version of me. No, it legitimately just looks like, oh, that she was in that music video. So go watch it. They're going to see a spike in this music video for no reason now. But because I started thinking about this, I actually asked teachers on my Instagram to share some of the lore that they know about teachers. And unfortunately, of course, the first chunk of lore is always like, oh, this teacher, it was found out that they like ended up marrying a former student and stuff. I hate that stuff. Like I should have probably said like I don't want to know. That to me is not lore. That's trauma and abuse. Like that's not the lore I'm looking for. Oh, the internal rhyme of that. I like it. Okay. So a few things that people posted. The music teacher that this person had from kindergarten through sixth grade, and was her daughter's music teacher, threw a desk at a student in the 90s, which like that's such good lore to have as a teacher that like, yeah, she just got out of prison actually because a student messed with her one too many times. Like that's the kind of lore that you kind of want. Like, yeah, you know that like he's into MMA, right? Like on the weekends, he does MMA and he accidentally killed a guy once, right? Like that's the kind of stuff you kind of want that they make them just kind of look at you and be like, are you maybe like an act? Are you dangerous? Like you want them to think you're maybe just like a little bit dangerous, right? Somebody else submitted, these ones are the craziest ones, is the ones where people are talking about like the weekend activities of these teachers. So this is a teacher talking about her colleagues. The entire science department would go to clubs and do cocaine. It always breaks my brain to think about that, and that that like potentially like all of those things, because teachers are so straight-laced at work. We have, we're leaders, and like I don't want us to be constantly thinking like teachers are out there living double lives and stuff, but some of them, some of them might be. I also realized that maybe a lot more people are doing cocaine than I realized. I've never done any drugs at all. And so my husband and I were recently talking about drugs, and I was like, yeah, like I've never done it. Like who does that? And he's like, I think maybe way more people than you realize. And I was like, that's probably true, because I guess I'm pretty sheltered with that. Like none of my friends growing up in high school at least didn't do it around me. And so I mean maybe they have since, but I don't know. The DARE program was really effective with me. I'm like, I'm not going to smoke weed. Am I going to try and ruin my life? Are you insane? I feel like there was like a demographic of that where like a lot of us got very thoroughly convinced by the DARE program that like, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. And that's like, those of you guys who are too young to remember, maybe there was like an egg and a frying pan, and they would be like, this is your brain, and it's the egg, and they would smash it with a frying pan, be like, this is your brain on drugs. And sorry, like that was effective for me. I'm not looking to ruin my life, so I'm gonna stay away from that. I've got one more, and then we're gonna go into some of the listener submissions for this week. Somebody DM'd me, like they didn't respond to the little chat box because it was too long. They DM'd me and told me that they had a host teacher. So they were like a student teacher, and their host teacher brought a digital camera with them and left it on the desk, and they left. And he had been showing her like pictures of his yard or something like that. And he left it. And so she was like, thinking like, "Oh, I'll just look at a couple more pictures." And she found out that her host teacher, he was a swinger, and they photographed their swinger parties. And she scrolled through and saw graphic photos. And I don't think she ever acknowledged it to him. I kind of hope she didn't because that's wild. But yeah, you just never know. You just teachers are people. Teachers are people too. So on that note, I'm very excited to hear what you guys sent to me this week. So let's go ahead and listen to the first one.
I was a long-term sub for sixth grade science, and I had some of the students in that group of classes decide to stalk and find my social media that I thought I had locked down, create a fake TikTok account using my profile pictures from Facebook, and start sending other students in the classes flirting messages, asking for students' phone numbers, all the things. So I took it straight to admin, and guess what happened? Absolutely nothing. It's a great day. It's a fantastic day.
The way I would absolutely lose my mind. That is so terrifying. I actually recently was talking to some of my former I guess now they're my former students because they all just finished the semester with me. And there was one that was like, yeah, there's a girl from or a boy from my former high school, and he hooked up with his coach, his teacher, and then his friend's mom. Like listed all of those three. And I was like, this is not all one person. And he's like, no, these are three different adults that he hooked up with, right? And I was like, and this kid is, I think, 16. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be really honest here because we want to believe people when they share stuff like that and all of that. I was like, my hesitation immediately is there's one kid who has now been victimized by three separate adults. If that is true, that is horrible, right? But now we live in a place where like that woman just posted a couple of pictures on her private Instagram or what she thought was her private Instagram, and then the kids took it and now there's deep fakes and there's all of that. And that is so scary as a teacher now, and it's one of the reasons why I am always talking to my students about being like above reproof with student relationships and with all of that kind of stuff, like doors open. You are communicating with them on official channels only, like all of that kind of stuff, because there's so much that as an educator you can't control. Like, there's no way that she could have really controlled the fact that those kids did that. Admin should have done their job and given consequences for that, because that if she hadn't reported that, like let's say a parent found that and the parent saw, oh my gosh, this teacher is reaching out to my kid with flirty messages, right? And how traumatizing also for the kids who got reached out to if they didn't know it wasn't the teacher. Like, there's so many levels to that. And then immediately that teacher could be and should be put on leave until they figure out what happened. All it takes as a teacher is an accusation, right? And it's so, so scary because in situations like that, where that teacher, she's just like, I literally didn't do anything. Like, these kids found these pictures, they created an account, and then they're just sending stuff out. Like, you have to be so, so, so careful and so far above reproof, and that stuff can still happen. And it's so difficult because I think that we, of course, want to believe victims. We want to protect kids aggressively, and we should. And now we're in this world, though, where it's like I've heard stories about women or men who have had like deep fake videos posted about them, and people are like, "Oh, look, we found their sex tape or whatever." And like, what can be done, I guess, is the biggest question. And I feel like one of the things that has to be done is that when these are found out, like, there should be consequences for those kids that did that. Like, I'm not saying you expel the kid. I'm not saying that you necessarily involve the police, because it sounds like it was still like beginning stages. It wasn't a deep fake like video that's pornographic or anything like that. But you should really have them understanding, like, you could have ruined her career. You could have ruined her relationships. You could have ruined so many things by what feels like a harmless prank. And I think that with kids right now, especially that are like in this world where like everything is digital, they know how to use it so well. There's not a lot of ways to like provide verification and all of that kind of stuff if you don't want to. Like, we have to be teaching like media literacy and morality surrounding this stuff with a lot more intent, I think, and a lot more seriousness because those digital like the tracks are going to just stay there for that teacher, right? Like hopefully that gets deleted, never happens again. But I just as an educator like I live in fear of something like that because it's like, "Oh my gosh." And I have some profiles out there right now that are not me. Like I have one account on Facebook, one account on Instagram, one account no, that's not true. I have 2 accounts on Instagram. One is private and is for my family and my personal friends, and then I have my public one, right, the educator Andrea one, and, I only have 1 TikTok. I have no backup TikTok accounts, right? And so I will get DMs occasionally from people saying like, "Hey, is this your backup account?" Or, "Hey, you asked me for money?" And I'm like, I I what now? Like, and that's largely because I'm a public figure, right? Like I have I have a very large platform, and so automatically because when you have a large platform, people are like, "Oh, maybe we can use the parasocial relationship people have with her to get money out of people," right? And I was so shocked by that. And one of the ways that like social media companies, I guess, are trying to combat that is the verification stuff and all of that. But there are so many different scams out there to get verified that it is kind of scary from a creator standpoint because I will get emails probably once a week from accounts that are like Gmail accounts that say that they are verification from TikTok or verification from Instagram saying like, "Hey, if you want your verification badge, you just have to fill out all this information." And then people get their stuff hacked. Like that's how it happens all the time. And so, from a creator standpoint, it's really, really hard to, if you're not just like, if you don't have the clout to get verified on TikTok, you're just kind of like, well, sorry, like it wasn't me. This is my only account. And I've even had people go on my TikTok account and be like, this isn't Andrea's real account. I had to respond one time in a video and was like, hey, yeah, like, yes, it is. It always has been. Look back. I don't know of any other fake accounts that are going to go back as far as my account goes back. Like you can see, like every iteration. But I do post some old videos sometimes, so I think maybe that's why. But yeah, it is something to be kind of really cognizant about, and especially like as a parent, trying to be very intentional with my kids about like what it means to be online and all of that. Like my kids know I make videos and I post them online. And so people sometimes recognize me, but we aren't at the stage yet of like having them have access to computers yet. But my daughter's going to be in first grade next year. And so that's coming very quickly. And so there does need to start being a conversation of like internet safety pretty soon, which is wild. All right, let's hear the second story that was sent in this week.
Hi, Andrea. I have an insane story for you. I have been a teacher for 24 years. Most of that, I've been a computer teacher. And at one point, I was teaching middle school computer classes. And I had a student who came up to me one day and said, "Hey, you really need to look at the kid next to me at what he's looking at on his computer." And I was like, "Okay." So I have software that lets me see what websites they're on. And sure enough, the kid was looking at porn in my classroom. And he was sitting probably less than 5 feet away from where I was as the teacher. Um, I quickly got him off of his computer, obviously, ended up writing him up, took him to the principal's office, found out it wasn't the first time he had been caught doing this. He actually was using a VPN installed on a USB drive to get around the network filter, so he knew absolutely what he was doing was wrong. But even better than that, at the time, I was 34 weeks pregnant, and that little incident, I firmly believe, sent my blood pressure through the roof. And within about 5 hours of that happening, I delivered my daughter via an emergency section C-section due to preeclampsia. So that's my crazy story. Hopefully you enjoy it.
Oh my gosh. Unfortunately, I don't know a whole lot of teachers at this stage, especially the second we became one-to-one with computers. So one-to-one meaning like everyone's got a computer in your classroom. Um, I think pretty much immediately, especially secondary, like middle school and high school teachers, we started like stumbling upon kids watching porn. And here's the other thing I think to keep in mind with that is like there's like capital like P porn, right? And then there is content that's just like wildly inappropriate that might not be that, but is still way more graphic than anything you should ever be watching at school, right? And so, I mean, I had students that were watching like Euphoria. And so there was like really insane graphic drug use and like all of these different like HBO shows and like all of these different shows that, like, okay, you're not technically on like Cornhub or anything like that, but you are pretty darn close. And that has been, I think, one of the really difficult things with having kids that have access to the internet so young with very little guardrails set in place is that like their brains are literally not done cooking yet, right? So their prefrontal cortex, like that kid knew what he was doing is wrong, but they're so dumb. They're so dumb that like they're like, no, I'm just gonna, and that like to do it in class next to the teacher where another student can see it is wild behavior. I remember when in the midst of COVID, we were all online. We were dealing with like everything. Everybody was like on their own computers at home, right? But we still had that same software she's talking about where you could see kids' computers. And so I was so afraid of accidentally seeing something that I basically told all of the kids, like, hey guys, we're going to work on this writing assignment. I'm going to view your screens in 10, 9. And I would count it down because I taught high schoolers and they're all in their own homes. They're a lot of them unsupervised because their parents are at work and all of that. And so I'm like, and now, and thankfully, actually during COVID, I didn't end up seeing anything crazy. It was usually like during class where I would have a kid that would be like sitting with his computer kind of like propped to the back. And I would sometimes stumble upon stuff like that. But I mean, the kids always knew when you were looking at their computer because a little thing would pop up and they're on district Wi-Fi. And you know that they've had to either use a VPN or they've done some sort of workaround. So these kids know what they're doing is not appropriate and not okay. But kids are kids, you know, like they find workarounds for stuff like that, unfortunately. But it does remind me of like when I was flying back from England, I was trying to watch some movies and I hate it so much. I feel like there should be a rule that if you're going to have a movie on a plane, give us the option that if it's a movie that has nudity or graphic sex scenes, can we hit a button that says edit those out or like blur or do something? Because you feel like such a freaking perv if you're just like watching a movie and then all of a sudden it's like graphic sex scene. And I'm like, and I'm like trying to fast forward. And of course, that's when they stop for the announcements. And you're just like there with like nips flailing in the wind right on your screen. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So on our way over there, I was trying to like get into English history. And there was a Henry VIII movie and it was, like, clean, I would say 90% of the movie, but then there was, like, a couple of scenes where there were sex scenes and stuff, and I'm just like, "Oh, no, no." And so, yeah, that, like, petition for bigger seats and one free checked bag and a button I can press to make sure that I don't have to see any of the sex scenes if I'm in an airplane with a bunch of people. Like, so uncomfortable, especially because on the flight out there, my husband and I didn't even get to sit together. And so I was watching it and he's like behind me and I'm sitting next to like some old British man on one side and some very angry woman on the other side. I was in the middle seat and I was like, this is hell. This is the end for me, I think. So yeah, petition for that. I think they have stuff like that too out there because I think there's like family Focus on the Family or somebody did something where it's like they can edit out like the language or the nudity or those scenes or whatever, like petition for that option. Like you don't have to do it for everyone. I guess not everyone has to be a freak like me, but like if we could maybe just let me have an option. And I actually have some options for you. I have a couple of resources I'm really excited about because I'm a big nerd. So I'm going to share those with you guys when we get back right after this. All right, teacher besties, welcome back. All right, so if you were anything like me and how you grew up, there may have been a Saturday where you got up and it was the day that you were allowed to actually watch TV. My parents are not big TV people. They never have been. And we were allowed to watch TV, but it was usually only PBS Kids on Saturday mornings. And it was only for a couple hours. And we would watch like Wishbone and we would watch The Magic School Bus and like all of those like really classic, good TV shows, right? And so I was looking for different resources to share with you guys. And I think we need to like establish a litmus test for the types of things I'm sharing with you. So number one, I want it to be like accessibly priced. So I'm going to really try and focus on things that are like either free or really, really close to free. And provide a lot of value for you with not a lot of like mental labor. I think that is like the biggest things for us as teachers is like we get such decision fatigue because we are constantly making choices all day long. It's why I think that I struggled so much with eating healthy during the school years because I just was so tired by the time I got home that I'm like I can't make another decision. We're going to have pizza, right? So what I found is actually from PBS. So classic PBS, old, like same company that was providing Wishbone to us back in the day, is now, I might be misspeaking and saying that PBS was Wishbone. I actually don't know that for sure, but in my brain it is. But PBS Learning Media. So if you Google and you find pbslearningmedia.org, okay, if you search that up, they have tons of free resources on there and they separate it out by subject, resource type, and grade. So I wanted to look for the high school ones because I feel like for elementary, there do tend to be a lot of resources put out there for younger grades, especially when it comes to like history and science and stuff like that. Like I feel like there's a lot of stuff out there. So I'm always kind of honing in on the secondary stuff because it does get a little bit more challenging sometimes to find free resources for that. So if you go on to this website, they have the subject. So you can do anything. It says world languages, professional development, the arts, preschool, PE, engineering and tech, ELA, math, social studies, science. So I'm going to choose, let's do world languages. I don't usually choose world languages, so let's do that. And then they have one that is a Latin grammar collection with 19 resources. They have a Japanese collection with 138 resources. A couple of things about Japanese food, like just a bunch of different German learning ones, like just all of these different resources that are free. They have videos that are embedded in here. They have different, like basically different lessons. So you could essentially come in here, and this is accessible for free to anybody, not just teachers. So if you're wanting to learn German or you're wanting to learn Latin grammar, you could go on here and you could learn it. They have little animations. They've got all of this kind of stuff. So that's just for like the world languages one. The one I actually started off with when I first started looking this was social studies. And they have a bunch of different historical things. They have news articles with graphic design or graphic organizers. They have so many different things. They're all free that you just basically go on, you create an account. You can also immediately click a button and it'll assign it to Google Classroom if that's your learning management system you guys use. So if you are sitting there and you're like, I need to have something in the back of my head for a resource I can just plug in and or a sub day. I think this is really, really good for sub days and be like, I don't know what they're going to do tomorrow. We were supposed to do something. This is perfect. And especially the ones that are for like news articles and stuff. I love that kind of stuff. So there's a news quiz one with that for like May 1st. So that's right now, just a few days ago from when I'm recording this. It automatically is going to be updating with new resources all the time. And there's a bunch of different websites like this, but I really like this one because it's free. It's from PBS, and it does have stuff for different grade levels and different options and stuff like that. So highly, highly recommend you guys check that out. If there is a resource that you have used that you love that is free, then please do reach out and share it with us, because that is, I think, one of the most powerful ways that teachers can help each other is just through word of mouth. Also, if you haven't joined a Facebook group for whatever it is you teach, I highly recommend that you do. That is one of the things that saved me when I first started teaching AP language, because I never took AP. I know it's going to shock you guys that with my 2.7 GPA that I graduated high school with, that I wasn't in an AP class. That's crazy. But I didn't take AP. And so when I started teaching at the private school, they were like, yeah, you're going to be teaching AP Lang and 11th grade English. And I'm like, cool. What does AP stand for? Like, I had no idea. And they're like, oh, okay. And so they sent me to a training. It was great. The training was wonderful. It gave me a lot of like foundational things of like, okay, what does it mean? There's a rhetorical analysis and an argument and all of that stuff. But going online and being a part of those Facebook groups was transformational, because they all had sections on their Facebook groups where people would just like upload prompts or upload rubrics or upload activities or units or any of that. And almost all of it is completely free. And that's for every subject I've ever taught. So even if you're not a Facebook person, which I totally get, because I am rarely on Facebook other than just to share my content, that is, or to go on Marketplace to go and sell and or buy stuff and make my husband stressed. If you're going to go on Facebook, highly recommend you go and find a group that is teaching what you teach, because they are phenomenal and they often have so many resources, and you can like search it up in the post. So like, or you could just put a post out there, be like, hey, does anyone have an activity for blah? And then it'll be there. It's just a lot of different things that you can do for yourself. So that way you're not having to pay teachers resources every single time that you're in a pinch or need sub plans or need an activity for a day, stuff like that. And it's a lot of times teachers who have been teaching for a super, super long time. So they've been through it all and they've tried all this stuff, and they can share stuff that is, really, really solid. So those are my two recommendations. You got a bonus recommendation today, because as I was talking, I thought about, oh yeah, Facebook groups. I haven't talked about that. And I don't have a specific one to point out, but I can say with absolute certainty that my Facebook groups that I joined early on in my teaching career especially were so, so helpful. And I just want to confirm, because my wonderful producer just told me that Wishbone was 95 to 97 and was originally broadcast on PBS. So I know my culture, okay? If you have thoughts about what we talked about today, including cool resources that you want to share with the class, you can hit us up, Andrea at human-content.com, or you can contact me at Educator Andrea on TikTok and Instagram and all the places, or you can contact the entire Human Content podcast family at Human Content Pods. And we still have the Patreon. It's amazing. And I am playing with the idea of maybe putting some resources up there for you guys if you're a patron. So like sub plans that you could use for any class or other kinds of downloads and stuff like that. In addition to the bonus episodes, which is like the real heart and soul of the thing, is that you guys aren't getting to hang out with Denver as much. And I feel sorry for you, to be frank. I feel a little bit sad for you that you don't know what's going on in her life, because the Patreon episodes are where we share the tea, like the actual tea from our lives. And you are missing it right now if you are not a part of our Patreon book club. So I highly recommend, like, yes, we talk about the books, but we also share like the nitty gritty and stuff like that isn't suitable for like public consumption. So you should sign up. It's on patreon.com/those who can read. And thank you guys so much for leaving reviews. I love you so much. It makes my day. I appreciate you so, so very much. And if you haven't yet, please do. And share this podcast with someone who is trying to survive the classroom, because it's rough out there. And it is really, really good for us to be able to hear and share with each other when things are going well and when things are not going so well. So you can also catch full videos up every week on YouTube at Educator Andrea. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Andrea Forcum. Our executive producers are Andrea Forcum, Aaron Corney, Rob Goldman, and Shanti Brooke. Our editor is Andrew Sims. Our engineer is Jason Portizo. Our music is by Omer Benzvi. Our recording location is the Indiana State by College of Education. To learn more about our How to Survive the Classroom's program disclaimer and ethics policy and submission, verification, and licensing terms, you can go to podcasterandrea.com. How to Survive the Classroom is a human content production.
How to survive the classroom.
Thank you so much for watching. Want more of How to Survive the Classroom? You can watch more episodes right now. Just click on that little box over there. You see it? And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Okay, bye.